fucking Thursday, City Beautiful. I am Jed Nico, your friendly neighborhood Filipino, and this is the Blacklist Society podcast. My mission is to connect, encourage, and empower the community by showcasing some of the most powerful creatives we have in the community in hopes that when you go home, you will cultivate and nurture your own creative outlet. Before we get into episode 5, want to give a little word of wisdom from the morning that I got. 2020 has been a year chock full of bad circumstances. And this is somebody like I've lost family in this time, jobs, finances. 2020 has been filled with bad circumstances. That being said, we can choose to intentionally bring goodness into our life. In the midst of bad circumstances, we can choose to bring goodness into our life. And a couple things I want to share that really helped in this time of pandemic. Bring good food into your life. Food that energizes you, food that boosts your immune system in this time. There's even food that boosts your health against anxiety and depression, like blueberries, watercress, coconut. Bring good foods into your life. Bring good people into your life. People that are going to inspire you to be better. People that you can learn from to grow in your path. People that are going to hold you down in your time of war. Bring good people. And lastly, bring good conversations into this space. It's a crazy time that we got going on, but I just want to tell anybody out there, bring good conversations into your space. Conversations that foster solutions. Conversations that foster creativity and connection. City Beautiful, I hope that you inject your day with some goodness. And that being said, episode 5, we welcome Orange from OrangeIsMedia. What's going on, brother?
Man, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me. All that great stuff, dog.
Yes.
I really admire and appreciate what you're doing, like giving creators these platforms and avenues, you know what I'm saying, to tell their story.
Absolutely, man. We chopped that up before we got into it, but our link is Chase Prince, so shout out to Chase Prince, Iris Euphoria. And the first time I met you, he introduced me to you at Dandelions, with shout outs to the whole Dandelion staff, that establishment, the Dandelion community. We miss you. We love you.
Sure.
We hope to still be connected. And in that time, this was probably like 2 going on 3 years ago, you were doing like a small group social media workshop. Like you were talking about social media back in that time. And my Instagram is 2 years old, so I was dabbling in Instagram and social media. But you know, I was raised in the 90s. I was one who was lagging in social media. You know what I'm saying? I was more into rapping in the open mic scene, not so much on social media. Right. But back in that time, you were doing workshops, and in fact, you actually came to our first Instagram party on Church Street in Danny and Pat's, and you did an Instagram workshop at that time. Yes. So in my mind, you've always been Orlando's influencer. Oh, man. Like, before, in the process of making this podcast, I was like, yo, I should reach out to Orange and get some feedback on how to structure everything, because it's very overwhelming sometimes structuring social media and how to build content. But give us the origin story of how you became that Orlando influencer, because that's not something I just came up with. That's something that a lot of the community would agree that you are that guy. What's the origin story behind that?
Absolutely. So I've always been a visual person, photographer. I've always, like, you can't just tell me a story. You got to show me, I want to be able to hear it. I want to be able to sit. I want to be able to feel it. I want to be able to touch it. So when Instagram became a thing back in, when it was just exclusive to iPhones, I gravitated more to that, because unlike Facebook and MySpace, where it was like a lot of talking, a lot of saying stuff, a lot
long
of posturing,
format writing.
A lot of writing and stuff like that. I wanted to just visually show, okay, this is where I am, this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm doing, and I was able to, like, basically communicate whatever I wanted to say just through a visual look. So I had Instagram that's probably like my favorite platform
out of all of them.
So I've always had it. And throughout the years, I learned that, and I've been doing my poetry open mic for 6 years, right? I didn't really, back in 2014, I didn't really have like a lot of money to like really, and I didn't really find a need to print out a whole bunch of flyers and like pass them out. I feel like that's what old people did. So I was 2014, right? So I was like, well, let me just kind of tell people about my open mic on Instagram. Let me just tell people about my open mic on Facebook. Let me just kind of make an online flyer. More people would view it, that way or whatever. I ain't gotta like be physically there and hand it to them. And plus I had a full-time job. So it's like, there's no way I can get to all these places and work a full-time job. I have to utilize social media to be able to get my word out. And this is when I started my open mic, 2014. Okay. So we were able to have a successful, dope open mic where a bunch of people were to come through word of mouth online.
What was the name of the first open mic?
It was called Respect the Mic Orlando, and that's something that I still keep the Instagram page intact, so you could follow it on Instagram now. Respect the Mic Orlando. Awesome. I just promoted strictly online, and through that I learned skills. How to use hashtags, how to format things, because obviously the square format, that was when it was like strict square format.
You was cracking that code back in the day.
Cracking the code back in the day in terms of just how to do it, and I always appreciate it as a platform because it helped launch my business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you started the poetry and your journey in social media simultaneously?
Simultaneously. It was like the business was something that I wanted to do, and then the social media, Instagram, Facebook, was my medium in terms of getting out there to do it, because I was in a poetry community prior to 2014. Unless you were the top poet in the city, you didn't have an open mic. You didn't have enough credibility to have an open mic. It was like
it was own exclusive community.
It was exclusive to the top poet. Like if you were a top poet, then you could have an open mic. I was just the photographer for some of the poets' things. I was just the little guy. So I knew back then, well, if I promote an open mic, people aren't going to just come because Orange is just a top poet, quote unquote. They're going to come because they visually see, dang, they having a good time. I want to go have a good time. Dang, they see that, okay, bam, I could rap, I could sing, I could do this. Hey, let me go check this out. Or I see two girls taking a picture together or whatever. Man, let me go be where they are, So I understood the idea of just marketing through that, because I had to do it in a different way, because I felt, again, stigma, thinking that this is how it was always done. So let me try to like do it a different type of way to be able to compete. This is back in 2014 in Orlando, and anybody in the city know what I'm talking about.
What? Shout outs to Orlando. Are you from the city?
I'm not from the city. I've been here since 2008.
Okay.
However, and I'm actually from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yes.
I did not see that coming. That's cool. That's a big transition from Milwaukee to Orlando. How'd you come across Orlando from Milwaukee, or what drew you to the city?
What drew me to the city was, just throughout high school, I've always been a creative. We had a video production program in our high school.
Also, you were in production since
then,
high school.
Even then, since high school.
You had a camera back then too, or you was filming already?
They lent us cameras.
Yeah,
they lent us cameras. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I was a part of a teen television show when I was 17, called Gumbo TV. You could look that up on YouTube. So I've always been a creative. When it was time to go to college, a lot of my friends were going to some of the local colleges or the colleges that's around the state. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to, do computer science or be a mathematician. Like, I didn't want to do what my friends were doing. I wanted to do something that was creative. So I saw this school called Fullset. And I was like, you know what? That's where I would want to be, except for I live in Milwaukee. Like, I don't know anyone that's in Florida like that. So I joined the military. For 2 years and 7 months.
Thank you for your service. Appreciate that.
Of course, absolutely.
I seen your fatigues on the ground.
Yeah. I'm always out there. So yeah, man. So that gave me the opportunity to be able to have the financial capital to be able to make the move to Florida. So I made the move to Florida, came to Fullset, and it unfortunately didn't even work out. I couldn't even go to Fullset in 2008. Because in 2008, Fullset was a private university.
Yeah.
So the military would not give you money for a private university. It had to be a government, university, or
the GI building it could be cover a private facility.
Yeah. It would have been like UCF or something like that. So I knew that, again, here I am. I can't just get into it, so I have to work 3 times as hard to be able to get to where I want to be. But just to fast forward, as of March 2020, I graduated and got my bachelor's degree from Fullset University.
Man, congratulations.
So FYI,
as of March this year?
Happens of 2020. Yeah. Yeah,
Bro,
so I was like the last graduating class that like got to actually, you know what I'm saying, like walk and stuff. So
that's wild, because the guy that we had on the podcast, he's dropping tonight, Coop, he's currently a student.
Yeah.
And he was saying that because of pandemic, they don't have access to hands-on studio time. So it's a blessing that you got in. You got everything that you needed to before they shut down the campus. What was your Full Sail experience like? Talk to me, like, what happened in that time, like, as far as your creativity goes, or the relationships you build. Was it everything you imagined? Was it not?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll tell you this. With Full Sail, I was before Full Sail. I was for 2 years. I was with probably about for 3 years. I was working at this call center. I worked my way up to the top, and was one of the top people at this call center. And I was making decent money. I ended up seeing out I had like a little bit money, 7 months left on my GI Bill. At this point, Full Sail is a university now, so you can actually, I could actually go there. So I was like, what? Cool. I've always wanted to go, to the school. Let me just go there for 7 months. I went there and it changed my life. I didn't know that, back in 2016, like the possibility of doing social media, the possibility of doing audio engineering, the possibility of doing filmmaking was actual a reality. And I was in classrooms with these people. These people were my teachers. They were my first, resources. Because sometimes it's about who you know more than anything. If you're around people that you don't that don't do any of this stuff, it's not going to be real to you.
Right.
With Full Sail
there's
University,
no spark in it.
There's no spark in it. With Full Sail, it became so real to me in terms of doing it. After the 7 months, right? I just go back to my job or whatever. I knew that those 7 months I had to like be on 10. Like I had to like make a whole bunch of connections. I had to, because I had a limited time. I wasn't gonna get a degree. That just was the reality. But when I went back to my job, my 9-to-5 job, I probably stayed there for 2 weeks before I was like, I can't do this no more. And then
you saw the other side.
I saw the other side. I was like, I can't come back. And that's
your heart wasn't in it.
Yeah, that's when I started my business or whatever. I started a social media marketing business. And then before that, I ended up getting a job doing social media marketing. I had never prior to that understood that you could do something you love, like for real. For like really do something you love outside being a basketball player, being a rapper.
Sure.
But like you could do social media and this is 2016, you could do social media and be making 40K a year. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And they'll do that, So that was like, wow, And I worked at a couple of different marketing agencies just to kind of like, get my foot in a door.
That's an amazing thing right there, because I have this motto. It's the mission stays the same, but your approach must be adaptable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, your goal may be to go to Full Sail, but you have to be adaptable if the road changes. Eventually, you ended up graduating. When you were at Full Sail, you went for film, correct?
I went for media communications.
Media and communications. Now, how heavy was the prevalence and the relevance of social media in the classes? Like, did they tell you about how to maneuver through the social media game, how to optimize businesses, or was it most like just conversation?
Well, with media communications program, what it touched on every aspect of Full Sail. So it touched a little bit about filmmaking and creating stories. It touched a little bit about music in the terms of audio engineering.
Oh, that's cool.
It touched on web design. It touched on how to use these things for social media. So it was a good hybrid of all the different programs. But keep in mind, I wanted to go to this school in 2008. I knew I had to hustle and do my thing. I started off as, being rapping, engineering, photography, video. And then, so I had all this experience by the time I got to Full Sail in 2016, even having my own business since 2014, 2 years prior. I had all this experience. So when I went into Full Sail, it was like, I was able to get it just like that.
It was clicking.
It was clicking. So a lot of the people that were at Full Sail, they were like 18, 19 years old, just kind of really experiencing life for the first time. But I had all this experience. Like a lot of the teachers was like, yo, we really value, you here because you're teaching from us following you. You're teaching us things. So it wasn't long before I was actually kind of just helping guide the class and helping,
translate information.
I already had cameras. So I was lending my cameras to some of the students, which put me in a different space into how like my teachers looked at me. But again, it was because I had already been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And I learned a ton, you know what I'm saying, while I was there. But what I learned more about is the value of just linking up with people, just talking with people and just understanding that it's not about the technical skills. It's about the soft skills. How well do people like you? How well can you get along, work with as a team? That's just as strong, if not more, than I know how to, the difference between 60 frame rates or 24 frame rates. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Because, man, that's powerful because you can learn about, like, the 60 frames, but to learn how to develop and foster, like, a relationship and a connection and let something beautiful come out of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power in that.
Yeah.
Do you still have your relationships from Fullset, or is it kind of like you learned and got what you needed, or?
No, I mean, those are, funny thing about Fullset is it's a family, it's a community. You know what I'm saying? You don't just go in and leave unless you absolutely want to. I'm a part of about 2 or 3 different Fullset University groups.
Nice.
I just taught a class on a workshop for their graduating their last class or whatever on Zoom. I just did that like a couple weeks ago. So yeah, man, I think I just did that on like mobile photography, just to kind of make it, like very realistic to the students. Hey, this is somebody that went to school here, and this is what they're doing now. So I've been able to, stay connected with the teachers and different things like that.
That's dope.
My mentors and stuff like that. So it's just been great. It's been great.
And they see what you're doing out here?
They see what I'm doing out here. But I was doing that even while I was in school and prior to, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, man, they could always point to me as an example. Like, look at his final project. This is how he did this. Y'all probably didn't know. Y'all don't need no big camera. He did it with his phone. You know what I mean? So stuff like that.
I'm glad actually that you brought that up, because me and Chase had this conversation, and it was the conversation of, I had called homie up and I was like, listen, man, I'm in the market for a camera. If I want to increase my content creating abilities, what's your advice? And Chase was like, honestly, bro, he said, get yourself a high performing phone and a gimbal. And I was like, what? Because I looked at his Instagram and his page was lovely. The content was awesome. It was clean. But just to be honest with you, where I'm at right now, I'm still on that fence on that conversation. Like, I know where you err on it, but what's your reasoning between the camera and like a high performing phone with a gimbal like option for those who are like, should I do this for content creating or go this route? What's your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I grew up not wealthy, you know? So I grew up not having the best things. So we had to make the most out of what we had. And one thing I learned is just the journey of getting the most out of what you have is you can't even describe it. A lot of times people get like the most expensive equipment, but their grind, they don't really have that grind. If you could grind with a cell phone, then you'll create some immaculate work with the Sony freaking A63 or A6600. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you started off with the Sony A6600, you're not gonna like really value the fact of the lens, the quality, the depth, the this, that, and the third. You're not gonna appreciate that, because when you get the camera, you don't really know nothing about that. But when you get the modest, the Canon T2i or just doing it with your phone, it's like, man, I'm just trying to create content. But once you it's like it's a journey, You don't want to start at the end. You want to start in the beginning, so that way you could appreciate the steps in between.
That's powerful, bro.
That's why I always say, start off with something modest. Like my friend, like my best friend, he wants to create a broadcasting thing. He's asking me what camera to use. I gave him advice on how to just use a cell phone to start his YouTube. I was like, after you create 10 pieces of content, then you get to ask me a question again cameras. In terms of on cameras again, because he needs to understand that whatever he's trying to do at this stage, he can do today. But he does. He
say it one more time. When can he do it?
What today?
Today. You want to do something out there? You could do it. When?
Today.
Awesome.
You're stopping you. Don't stop you. You know what I'm saying? Push forward. So.
That's awesome, man. The thing that I love that what you said is like you highlight the process of learning. And a lot of times I'm even guilty of this, thinking that the equipment is going to bring the quality. But no, it's like the working on the craft brings the quality.
Yeah.
That's powerful in itself, man. So you said you mentioned you opened up your own digital marketing agency. Was that before Full Sail?
That was no, that was after Full Sail. That was
Okay.
after Full Sail because I was working at the call center, which had nothing to do with what I wanted to do.
It was just feeding the dream.
It was just feeding the dream. Went to Full Sail and just realized about how all of these possibilities were open. And then after that, after Full Sail, it gave me the confidence to seek the jobs that I wanted versus a job just to pay the bills.
Gotcha. Now, what made you do the business route? Because you could have been like, I'm just going to get an internship. I'm going to work for someone else. But you decided to, there's a character trait when you take leadership and ownership and you're like, I want something for me.
Yeah.
What was that journey like? What made you decide, I want to make a business out of this for me?
Right. What happened was when I was working at the marketing agency, I was using my own laptop. I was using my own skills in regards to graphic design. I was using if anything, like, how Facebook businesses work out, they would just add me to Facebook business and they would tell me to, create the captions, and I would do my own research in terms of how to make captivating captions.
Wow.
So I was basically doing, like, I was working for myself,
Yeah.
but just working for them at the same time. So you're doing all of that. And I was like, they probably, I'm sure, was underpaying me. I was doing like 14 different social media accounts at one time.
Wow.
One post a day, at least one or two posts for all 14. Scheduling it out, all of those different things. But I knew that once I'm done with this, because I'm gonna be done with this, I would have built up so much confidence. I would have done so many repetitions of this thing that there's no way I can't just handle anything for myself. So yeah, it was one of those things to where I was like, I was using my own equipment anyway. They didn't tell me what to say. I was coming up with what to say. I was shooting and filming the content myself, most times with my own camera equipment.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, why can't I do this by myself? Only
And
thing
then
that
you just transitioned on your own from there.
yeah, I just transitioned on my own from there. So it's like anytime, and it's a job. So even though I love doing that job and everything like that, it was like, okay, well, cool. Let me establish something on my own as well, being that I still have these skills, just in case, the job doesn't want me no more or whatever. Hey, I'm still good on this end.
I think that's that's an important conversation that a lot of people should have with themselves, like establishing skills and something of their own, because we've seen that, economies can collapse in a day.
Yeah.
Before this, I was working in a call center for 3 years, and we're in Florida. We were selling vacations. We never thought that the vacation industry would be hit so bad. I remember seeing our stock go from 45 to negative 19 in a day. And so that's why I was like, man, let me lean back into Blacklist society and dedicate 100% of my energy in my thing.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to point out with you is your interest in sharing this information. That's rare.
Yeah.
I've seen people in the social media realm. I've seen people at Full Sail, but you have this interesting quality where you want to share this information. You want to teach this information. Where did that come from?
Well, number one, people be always asking me stuff, so I'm like, bruh, like, dog, yo,
Supply and
okay,
demand.
Listen,
Supply and demand.
I'm gonna just tell y'all all at once, so that way, you don't be calling me individually and be just bothering me or whatever. But nah, one thing I always learned is like, nobody, like, and this is just me just learning with social media. The easiest way, and this is like, y'all, like, straight up take notes. Like, the easiest way to grow on social media is to be a resource.
That's awesome.
Is to be a resource. Is to be something that someone gets something from. There's a certain niches or aspects in social media that really does well. It's entertainment. It's words of entertainment. It's inspiration, or it's just learning things. Do you know the top thing that people search on YouTube?
Top thing on YouTube?
Is it cats? Is it dogs?
I want to say music.
Music? Okay,
Music
all right,
stuff.
cool. All right, the top thing that searchable thing that people search on YouTube is how to.
Oh, really?
It's how to.
Just
They start with how to and then something. So
gotcha.
people, even with the social media realm, to be able to grow and to be able to really be discovered, is find a niche and then be a resource. So for me, I've never been I've had situations where I felt like people didn't want. I've been in spaces where people didn't want me to infiltrate, in regards to things, and I hated those feelings because I was like, dog, man, like we could all eat, we could all be successful if we just help one another out. So I always wanted to be a resource for other people. Hey, if you need to know this, if you want to be able to run your business, I don't even give a darn if you want to do something and it's a direct competition of me. I'm going to show you and give you the tools, because what's going to happen is you're going to show someone else and give the tools. And then to a degree, you're going to always remember where you got it from. And then it's going to just spread, So a lot of times people try to protect their ideas and protect
the sauce. I gotta keep the sauce.
When in actuality, like you end up living forever if you help someone else out.
Come on,
help
man.
someone else out, that help someone else out, because they're going to always remember when you help them.
Absolutely.
And again, if I'm in a position to where I know something, it kind of made me want to be a teacher as well, because I'm like, man, I feel like I have so much to offer. What's the point of holding it to myself? Give it to other people or whatever, so that way you could kind of see, like, man, people are really out here flourishing. Like, that's just always been my personality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I value that. We're going to get back onto that, but focusing on the impact, we'll transition for a word from our sponsor.
And not to mention, for all my fellow hippies out there, if you're looking for some custom tie-dye work, please make sure you hit up my man, Cool Breeze. They got some amazing custom work that they're doing out there. We're definitely supporting the podcast.
And we're back. So we left off on you saying when you teach people, it's like you're being remembered more. You have more of that impact, and I fully agree with that part. Speaking of impact, talk to me about like your relationship with the spoken word community, and are you still out there performing in different parts of the city? But like, I want to kind of know about the origin with you in the spoken word community a little bit.
Okay, so with the spoken word community is basically like this, growing up throughout high school and stuff like that, even middle school, my favorite rappers were the ones that conveyed a message in their raps.
Who were your favorite rappers growing up?
My favorite rappers growing up was Common,
Come on.
Talib Kweli, Black Thought. Always thought him of the Roots was always incredible. So I always loved the storytelling, but
Dope.
very like socially conscious people, so growing up doing that, and me trying to be like, okay, well, cool, these are the people that I want to model my music around or whatever. Back in 2008 to 2012, I was like, okay, cool, this is like what my music is going to be centered towards. You have the rap, and then you have the poetry. There's a poet that says rappers and poets are cousins. So when we at the cookout,
I like that.
So when we at the cookout, which is the open mic, we get together and we get to vibe off of each other.
Come on.
So I would go to open mics in Orlando, find out where they are, and I was like, man, you know what? You guys are having these amazing moments and having these amazing times. Let me bring my camera and let me, film it and capture these moments.
When was this? When you started like getting exposed to Orlando's open mic scene?
This was back in maybe about 2010.
Okay.
2010, 2011. And I was just so inspired by it. You're hard pressed to go to an open mic and not feel like, yo, I'm finna write a poem tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's a
like
fact.
that's
That's
just
a
how
fact.
that's just how it is or whatever.
Yes.
And with me already having a musical background already, so it was like, okay, bam, let me just take my music and then just, because my music always had a message in it anyway, and let me just format it for a spoken word format. So in terms of just being inspired by the spoken word community, in terms of already making music that was meaningful, it was just a nice merge and a nice mix. And again, at the time of me just discovering Instagram and social media really kicking off, it's like, bang, like you got the visual content and you got the audio content and you got the moments, so that's what started off. That's what kicked it off.
Would you consider yourself like a jack of all trades? Because I mean, you rap, you film, you do poetry. you're an entrepreneur? Like, would you say that you have that like jack of all trades type of vibe, or
Absolutely, man. You know the term creative?
yeah?
That's just a funny term to say jack of all trades.
Okay.
Like, because a creative is good at all these different things or whatever. That's why they call them creative, man. And like, I was a creative before. It was cool. You know, people always say, oh, jack of all trades, master of none. But I was like, you know what? I'd hate to just be good at basketball and never diversify like my stuff. I'd hate to just be good at football or just be good at rapping and never know how to engineer and not know how to, you know, shoot videos for myself and not know how to do photography or not know how to market. I would hate to just be that, you know what I'm saying? Because then that really limits you. So that jack of all trades, master of none is kind of meant to kind of deter people from diversifying things. But the term creative encourages it, and it really just shows that you have to be that now, you know, in this day and age.
Absolutely. And you know what's cool though, like when I listen to your journey, is that you seem to balance it well. You know what I'm saying? A lot of different jack of all trades, got a lot of stuff going on, but they'll lose energy and momentum. But it seems like your journey's been pretty much supportive of the different parts. Like the poetry was supportive of your growth in social media. The social media was your growth into working with marketing agencies, where you learn more of your business acumen. Probably like your journey is like it's progressively moving forward. What's next for Orange? Like, what can we expect for the end of 2020? Do you have any projects that you got on your mind? What's going on for this year?
So people always ask me what's new, what's next. I always tell people nothing. Just the same stuff I've been doing, you know. So it's gonna always be centered around photography. It's gonna be doing poetry. It's gonna be doing you know, video and stuff like that. It's just gonna, it may just look a little different. So just to kind of answer the question a little bit more directly, you know, I have an open mic called New Peace Mondays Orlando.
Shoutouts.
It's kind of taking it back to the essence of poetry, where there is no live pomp and circumstance. Is just raw poetry. I've been doing that for like the last 2 years, but now I'm finna take it back to the pomp and circumstance. So we're gonna invite hip-hop artists, we're gonna invite live musicians, we're gonna invite comedians, and just kind of open it up a little bit more, because for the past 2 years I just had it specifically to poets, to get back to that element of it, just to really more so highlight it. So I got that going. I'm gonna be doing a whole lot more traveling more, so I'm going to talk about that journey in that. And I just put a Facebook or whatever, Instagram thing about how, like, I live, like, where I live, I'm going to just, like, be like, yo, like, all right, so I'm going to just be transparent, goddamn. I paid $1,300 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment, and I love where I am.
Yeah.
I'm finna just exit all of that out and be like, yo, you know what? Instead of me trying to make more, I'm going to cut all my expenses and live off the bare minimum, so that way I can finance and fund a lot more of my dreams or whatever, instead of me trying to feel like, okay, man, I made 40K. Now I got to make 50K. Now I got to make 60K. It's like, you know what? You know, because I have a motorcycle, right?
Yeah.
I had a Jeep Liberty, right? Now I love my Jeep. I always wanted a Jeep. It costs like $700 a month to maintain, like extra to maintain. So my motorcycle, it was like, well, what happens if I just cut that expense off? It only took $87 for my motorcycle to maintain. You know what I'm saying? So did I need to make more money, or did I need to cut those expenses? I had a 2-bedroom apartment at one point. Do I need that 2-bedroom apartment? Or, you know, can I cut it downsize to a 1-bedroom? You know what I'm saying? So now I'm at that space again where it's like, I got a nice 1-bedroom apartment with the slayroom, but I'm always traveling. I'm always gone. Do I need that? Or can I just rent a room? You know what I mean? Like, what would that be? From $1,300 to maybe $450 for a room. Like, what would that look like? You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm gonna document that journey. So, you know what I'm saying? And hopefully try to encourage other people to be like, maybe you don't necessarily need to make, you know, or if you're just working a job where you're just only making a certain amount or whatever, and you're stressed about making more, then maybe you could probably downsize a little bit and be able to be in a good space where you want to be.
For sure.
And maybe even a lot of creatives, they want to live off of poetry, and they want to live off of hip hop, and they want to live off of this, that, and the third. But they got a car note, but they got a mortgage, they got this, that, and the third. And granted, you know, they might have families, you might be in different spaces, but maybe you for what you want to do, you have to downsize more to be able
Absolutely.
to be able to do those things that you want to do, you know. So just talking about that, so just understanding that for myself, so that way I can, you know, give that inspiration to others.
Are we gonna see more of that message in your content?
Absolutely, absolutely. You're gonna see in my content. I'm gonna create, you know, Instagram. You know, as long as people is interested in doing it, you know,
Absolutely,
it's
bro.
interested in seeing it, I'm gonna create it.
Is this
So,
your transition to minimalism?
you know what? I've always been a fan of minimalism.
Me
Just
too.
now, but this is like even more like
It
'cause
makes sense now.
It's minimalism lasts for a while before you get things, and then you have to, like, you know,
Work around it.
throw everything out now. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna only wear it. Your closet could be this big. By the end of the year, it's gonna be this big. So you gotta, you know what I'm saying? You gotta keep doing it. It's a process.
Yep.
You gotta keep going.
Absolutely.
You gotta
That's
keep
awesome,
going.
man. Let me ask you this. If you got to go back to any time era in history, what time era would you go back to?
The time era that I would go back to is the I think the 1980s. I think the 1980s. I think
That's dope.
That's
Why you say that?
Well, 1978 was when the first hip hop record was. 1980s was when people were trying to figure out what hip hop was. You know, you thought it had to be like this. You thought it had to be like this. And for 20 years later, for it to be the biggest music thing in the world and the most recognizable, I would love to be in that boom period. You know what I'm saying? Just to be around it, you know, just document it. Just, you know, I went to Snap Orlando Art Gallery.
Nice.
And it's this photographer, and all of his images, it's not no 360 cameras, it's no this, that, and third. It's just moments from that time, just regular pictures from that time. So it'll be really cool. And then another thing too, a lot of people don't understand, in the 90s is when brands became very influential.
Yeah,
brands,
absolutely.
like, right? That's where you had to wear Nike, you had to wear Adidas, if you know, whatever. In the 80s they didn't have that. The Nike wasn't a popular brand. They were a tennis shoe in the 80s. So you had people in the 80s developing their own style that we're somehow emulating today.
That's awesome.
Like, they developed their style. They're like, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna wear this, like, even with the go rope chains, and you know, like, we're gonna develop our own style versus being told this is the style you need to wear to be cool. So
if you could document one specific person or movement in the 80s, who would you document?
the person that I would document that's in the 80s would be
There's a lot of big people that came out of the 80s.
I would say
Like you
Man,
just got
I
to
think
catch along for the whole ride for this person.
it would have to be Russell Simmons.
Come on, man.
Simply because to create what he created,
Yeah.
just the frustration of it, the doubt, the fear, all the things that we go through today. How did you push through it? How did you overcome it? And or really just show that, hey, I didn't do anything different than what you are doing today. I just continued on with it. And think about the technology disadvantages that they were in terms of just getting the word out. So probably Russell Simmons and probably Rick Rubin and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Shout out to Rick Rubin.
Just that whole thing, man. Just that whole process.
Well, you mentioned like how did they push on? As we wrap up the podcast, like what's your final message to the creatives in Central Florida, as far as anything encouraging or that would help them push on in these times? And what's your last words that you would just give to the creative community out here?
It's okay to be creative, but don't be stubborn. Be flexible.
What do you mean by stubborn?
All right, so I'm a photographer, right? I make a decent amount of money, right? But I don't make my money just taking pictures of models or of rappers or of singers. I don't make the majority of my money. I do it of houses. I do it of real estate. I do it of those things. So I'm doing what I love to do. I'm not just doing it in a way that I want to do it.
Okay.
Why do I say that? Okay, the poet that wants to live off of the poetry. Okay, it's cool to do that. That means you just have a way with words. So maybe you won't be able to make money off of, or I guess substantial money to pay your rent or whatever, unless you downsize. You know, live your life or whatever, just doing poetry. But because you have a way with words, because you know how to copyright, maybe you can write blogs. Maybe your skill set is to write in social media posts because you have such a quick instinct with words. Maybe it's just becoming an English teacher. You know, if you are podcaster, maybe just interviewing creatives. Maybe that's not going to be the $100K a year job. But you know what? It's a bunch of businesses that will love for you to do what you do for them. Like, hey, can you show me how to create a podcast that's just talking about real estate? Can you show me how to create a podcast that's just talking about because like what you said, you want to use this as a medium to be able to get your business out. Why wouldn't Best Buy want to do that? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't, maybe they don't even know they can do that. Maybe you have to actually, like back in 2016, I was going to jobs telling them they need social media and this is why you need social media. And it was like, well, if you give me more business, then go ahead. You know what I mean? And now your business is going to fail if you don't have social media. They didn't understand that in 2016. They understand that now.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah. So
that's awesome, man.
You create the jobs you want, basically.
One more time. You create the jobs that you want.
You create the jobs you want.
That's fire. How much time do you have on that card? 15. So what I'll do then is, where can people find you? What's your handles on social media?
My social media, OrangeIsMedia.com is my website. OrangeIsMedia on Instagram. But before any of that, I don't really, you can follow me if you want, but follow my business. Follow New Peace Mondays Orlando. Follow Respect the Mic Orlando. Because it's not about me, it's about what I do. So I want you to get that, and trust me, you'll get some good information if you were to do that.
When will we see New Peace start gathering again?
You know what?
Is that to be determined?
It's not to be determined, man.
Okay.
I have a potential date. I'm thinking I might want to do Monday, October 5th. And this is the first time he's saying this or whatever. Monday, October 5th. It gives it a good month. This whole coronavirus, people being like iffy about going out, but I've been going to a couple different events and it's been a nice little size crowd. So I was like, you know what? If I were to do something, now would be the best time to do it. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to it. It definitely keeps the city alive. It keeps us connected. It keeps us encouraged.
Absolutely.
And we're just going to transition to Orange is going to bless us with a little spoken word piece.
For sure. Okay, so I wrote this piece 2 days ago. I wrote this piece 2 days ago, whatever, so it's not even memorized. It's going to be sloppy, but I want you to see, like, kind of where it starts versus, probably October 5th when I perform it, and it's going to be super dope. All right. All right. Stand in my way, and you standing for death. I'm not resisting arrest, I'm fighting for health. My favorite cereal used to be Raisin Bran and Wheaties, while my mom is on the couch eating chips, watching TV. And it's messing up my mind like, do she really need me? And is this the reason why she's fighting diabetes? Don't she know that I need her to keep going? But when I tell her about her health, she just keeps going. I want to call it selfish because I feel so helpless. Orange got it all together, but he can't help this. If we live, we live for the Lord, and if we die for the Lord. Whether we live or die, we belong to the Lord. Well, I'm sorry, Mom, but I ain't there yet. So I'm stepping to heaven's gate like, y'all can't have her yet. My little brother's so smart, she's the only one he has. When he went to college, she's the reason why he passed. And I couldn't get through the army without her support. And when she heard my first poem, she said I deserve an award. We laughed to keep from crying, crack jokes to take our mind from the possibility of one day dying. We playing happy, so let's keep rewinding. And I can't sing, but I still be trying. Cause I promise that I will sing about you. I promise that I will think about you. I promise that I will dream about you. I promise that this poem will be about you. Thank you. So yeah, man, appreciate that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you blessing the mic, man, and coming up and chopping it up. I hope that, you know, if ever you have another project coming up or anything you want to announce, man, reach out, jump back on,
for sure.
Tell the city what's going on, man.
Appreciate you having me, man. Thank you so much.
It was so fun. I appreciate that. And everybody out there, please research this man's business. Check him out on the gram. Find him, connect with him. If not, I guarantee you, if you are in the social media realm in Central Florida, you're just bound to hear this gentleman's name anyway.
Absolutely,
so I'm just telling you right now,
No
look
doubt.
out for him because you're going to hear the name anyway. But we fucking love you. I swear we out here. And just remember, be safe, be blessed. Most importantly, be you. It's Blacklist, and we out.
Yeah.